Hi everyone, welcome to Tony Fox Tarot. Thanks for joining me today and great to have you with me. Today we are looking at the answers that you already have within yourself. Now we'll break the reading down by having a look to see what that actually is. We'll identify the question and also the answer. We'll look at the past, the present and the future in terms of an outcome. Before we get started, if you're interested in becoming a Patreon subscriber, you can go down below and have a look in the description box. There's plenty of information on how to go about doing that. Don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe on this video. Now before you, on the screen, we've got two different symbols to choose from, and the idea is to choose a symbol that resonates with you really clearly. Once you've made that choice, that will be your reading. It's perfectly fine to choose more than one symbol if it comes to for you really strongly today. And remember, this is a general reading, so take what resonates and leave behind anything that doesn't. Now, I'll leave you to make your choice of the symbols. Once you've done that, down below there are two different timestamps representing each of these different symbols. If you'd like to go to the one that you've chosen, I will see you in a moment. Hi everyone, welcome to symbol number one. This is your reading and today we are looking at answers to how you feel really deep down. I definitely get a no with this particular outcome. I'm going to start over here with the Devil and the Knight of Pentacles. I'm looking into the past. I'm looking at another person here. I feel like there's definitely a very close relationship, an intimate relationship with somebody else who feels like they're controlling the outcome in terms of where this is all going between the both of you. I feel like this person is holding things back, slowing things down in terms of the way things are moving. There's a sense that wherever you're wanting to get to as an outcome between the both of you, that this person is throttling the relationship in a way that leaves you to feel that this is becoming quite painful in terms of it moving at a pace that is backwards almost in terms of going forwards. I feel like there's always some kind of an excuse or a reason as to why things aren't developing or growing or heading in a direction that you want them to. I think this person is somebody who is controlling the situation. I feel like this person has the power over you in a way that is essentially carving up, you know, day-to-day experiences and decisions that leave them to do it all on their own terms and conditions. I don't feel that this person is giving a great deal to you in a way that allows you to feel that you're equal in this relationship. It feels very disproportionate. I feel like this person has you on a tight leash just in terms of what the range is to experience within this relationship. I don't feel that they're letting you in at a psychological or an emotional level. I feel like they're very regimented in terms of that experience in a way that keeps you at a distance. I just don't feel like this person is letting you in deep down. I feel that they're not giving you enough, that they're giving you less. And I feel like in some ways that's almost by design. I don't feel like this person wants you to have more. I feel like they want you to be close enough, but not too close. And my sense is that there's a strong sense of codependency in this relationship from this person. I think this person actually needs you in a way maybe that you're not seeing. I get a feeling here that this is somebody who wants the structure of a relationship and the security that comes along with that in a way where they know where you are day in, day out. They know that they can depend on you in a way that suits their needs. They know that this structure that they dictate in terms of how things will roll is dependable, you know, from day to day, that there are no variables. I do get a person who is very regimented and I kind of feel from a psychological point of view that they need things to be ordered in a very predictable way. You know, if I look more deeply at this, I feel that the stability and the security of the relationship means an enormous amount to them, but it has to be the way that they want it. So it's all about their own agenda, and I don't feel that that is inclusive of you at a heartfelt level. I definitely get a defensive and controlling energy coming through with these two cards that just doesn't leave room for a dynamic to passionately discover and explore things in a free way. It feels very regimented, very boxed in a way where I feel like you're being quite controlled. If I come down here to the Sun and the Eight of Swords, I feel from your experience in reflection of that, I feel like you do feel controlled and manipulated at every step. I think here with the Sun, though, there's enormous hope that it's all going to work out. I think outwardly, you're not giving any signs to this other person or to anybody else that there's any problems. I feel like you're putting on a brave face, and that if people were to look at you and see what was going on, they wouldn't get any sense as to how you feel deep down inside. And here with the Eight of Swords, I definitely feel a sense of isolation and powerlessness to be able to take control of this situation. So how you are outwardly and how you are inwardly are conflicted. I think that you're unable to see at this point a way to put things on track. It's more just about hopes and dreams that it will actually work out for the best. There's a lot of uncertainty here, I feel, because you don't have any power to be able to make it into what it is that you really want. Mental health is really being ground down into a very cornered and disempowered position in a way where I feel like your hands are definitely tied behind your back. You have no freedom within this relationship, but you also have no freedom within your experience of yourself. I do feel that you are really cornered here in a way where this person has you on a very tight leash, and that you don't feel that you can actually fully express yourself in a way that is innately you. I feel everything is becoming very contrived in a way that you're towing the line for this person. Here with the Eight of Swords, there's definitely a card of oppression, of somebody else taking control of what's going on in a way that dictates the narrative. I feel like you're having to toe the line for this person in a way that leaves you feeling that you're actually quite vulnerable in some ways, but I feel like you're keeping that very private and to yourself. I feel like you're constantly being conditioned down into a way that that leaves you where you actually don't. I don't feel like you're saying anything here. Like it feels like you're very quiet. I feel like you're keeping this to yourself. I don't feel that you're actually saying anything to this person or to anybody else. I feel like you've lost your voice here in this relationship, and I think maybe you've actually learnt to say not a lot as well. Maybe you're not wanting to be beat down into this submissive state. That speaking up perhaps brings some kind of unwanted control tactic. I feel like you're trying to say very little here, in fact. I get a sense here that you've lost your voice, that you're remaining very quiet, but that you're waiting for things to improve. And the other sense here is with the Eight of Swords is that maybe you're not seeing the full picture either. Maybe you're not seeing beneath what it is that you're actually being told. Maybe this person is convincing you that it's something that it's not. If I come up here to Strength and the Ten of Pentacles, I feel like this person is promising you something here in a way that you've maybe been waiting for a really long time. Here with the Ten of Pentacles, there's definitely a card of security, society or community, of settling down, of maybe having a family for some of you. Here with Strength, I feel like there is definitely an opportunity that is availing itself in a way where this person is promising you that you can have everything that you want. It feels like a flip side of what you've been experiencing here in the past. I feel like here with the Sun, perhaps for some of you, this idea of having a child in the future with this person has definitely been on the cards, or something that it is that you've really wanted, but you've been very worried that this isn't going to happen in a way that gives you an outcome where you will experience that. But I feel this person is now saying that you can have everything that we haven't been having, or you can have everything that I've promised to you. There's definitely a focus here on fulfilling your wishes, but at the same time, I do feel like you're being asked to be patient. It's very much in this person's hands. I don't feel that you actually have much of a say in this. I feel like you're just kind of being fed more of maybe more of an idea that this will happen, as opposed to actually experiencing it being happening. If I come back here to the Devil and the Knight of Pentacles, I feel like this is a person who has an enormous amount of insecurity and that needs to control things in a way that that essentially stops anybody else from having any kind of influence. I think they need things to be set in a very rigid way that is predictable. I think their mindset doesn't like to be rocked, and that they're very I think very gripping in that experience. I think, but at the same time, I also see here with the Knight of Pentacles that this person has been very I think very limited in terms of their security or financial mobility, and I feel like here with Strength and the Ten of Pentacles that this is somehow changing. I feel like there are opportunities that are available to this person in terms of experiencing doors opening or meeting certain people or moving into social circles that opens up their world and provides them with access to some kind of life or some sort of world that fulfills their sort of burning desire to kind of break out of this very limited experience that they've been having in terms of their material world. I feel like this is somebody who's desperate for that here with the Devil and the Knight of Pentacles. And I feel like they're very passionate to kind of break into new circles of influence here with the Ten of Pentacles and Strengths in a way that opens up their world and rubs shoulders with people who have opportunities or have something that could be shared with them. I feel they're working very intelligently towards that they're exploiting certain opportunities that are available to them at this time, that there is somehow the promise of a good life, but I don't feel that this joins to your experience in a way that says that you're alongside this person. I feel that you're being promised that you're being asked to maybe be patient to experience that with that person. But I do feel that this person very separately is engaging with other people and experiences or opportunities in a way that open up that opportunity, and that they're moving very quickly into that in a way that maybe leaves you feeling that you're being left behind. If I come down here to the High Priestess and the Eight of Wands, I feel like in response to that you're definitely waiting in the balance with no certainty as to where this is really going. I feel like this is changing very quickly here with the Eight of Wands. They're very, very fast, very swift card in terms of change. The High Priestess is definitely a card of the future. There's a lot of uncertainty in terms of how this is all developing, where it's all going, and what you've been fed in terms of the information as to how this is going to work. I just kind of feel that it feels quite whirlwind. Everything feels up in the air. There's a lot of uncertainty here in a way where I feel like you're just kind of waiting for things to kind of make sense in a way. Trying to adapt or keep up with these changes, it's happening very fast, and I don't feel like it's clear in terms of where you sit within this experience. I think maybe a lot of what they're telling you doesn't actually add up either. Like there's a sense that it's just not clear, that it's moving maybe too quickly in some ways, and a lot of what they're telling you just doesn't add up. I feel like maybe you're being told to be patient, to go with the flow, but you have no power still here in these two cards in a way that leads me to feel that you're just flapping in the wind with no clear direction. So a lot of where you are in terms of your timeline down here is based on hopes and dreams and wishes, and there is no real sort of hand or handle on the lever to be able to mechanize any change. I feel like this person has a grip on what's going on, that they're holding all the cards in their hand, and that they're keeping their hand close to their chest at this time in a way that doesn't necessarily integrate you into the experience. So I get a sense here that you're just hoping that things will turn around and move in a direction that kind of clearly articulates where this is all going, and that it will land in your lap in a way that gives you what it is that you want. But deep down, if I was to pin down what the feeling is for you here in terms of you knowing what the answer is the feeling is that you're being pushed out, or that you're not being told everything that you need to know, and that nothing is ever clear, and that even though things are moving positively towards this potential of change to give you what it is that maybe that you want, or the both of you, that you're just being strung along essentially in a way that leaves you feeling continually that you never really have a clear picture and that you never have any power to affect any change. Where's this going to go? Because if I come over here to the Empress and the Ace of Swords, I feel like this person is going to get what they want in terms of exploiting the opportunities that are before them in terms of mobility, moving into new circles of people, moving into new circles of power and influence, to be able to plunder these opportunities in a way that gives them what they want in terms of security, introductions. There's almost like a reshaping of their world in terms of moving forwards, but also moving upwards into greater power in terms of material wealth or material acquisition, greater power in terms of influence and association with other people. Could be to do with their job also. I just feel that this person here hits with the Empress where things have been really productive for them in a way that is really fulfilling, and here with the Ace of Swords, that once they get what they want from this particular situation, that they will cut you loose very quickly. I feel that this is actually going to be quite brutal. I feel that they will see that they've gotten everything that they want in terms of benefiting from opportunities that have been happening around them, and as soon as that happens, that they will drop you like a hot potato. I don't feel that this person is going to give you any reasoning. I don't feel like they'll give you any warning, and I certainly don't feel they'll give you any apology. It just feels to me here that this is going to finish very abruptly. I feel down here with the High Priestess and the Eight of Wands that things are moving very quickly currently. I think this is maybe perhaps quite whirlwind. It feels like it's very difficult for you to keep up with, and not having the correct or accurate information as to how this is shaping is kind of keeping you out of the picture. I feel like this person is towing you along with a lot of promise here in a way that just is dangling a carrot because they want the security of a relationship that is dependable on a day-to-day level because they're codependent. And that as soon as they get a different type of security through the exploitation of new opportunities, new circles of influence, different types of relationships, and that actually sort of proves to them that there are productive results, that they will actually cut you loose in a way that is very final and clear. I think the positives about this is that finally you know where you stand, that it's clear, but I feel that it will actually be quite brutal in as much as there is nothing productive for you in terms of the outcome. This is a purely selfish goal or a selfish act, and it's the final act of showing this person up for who it is that they really are. I feel that this person is going to control or attempt to control you right to the bitter end. And it does feel very brutal to me. I feel if you want to come back down here to both the Eight of Swords and the High Priestess, I think these two cards, create so much uncertainty about where things have been bad where things have been in the past, where things are in the present, but also where things are going into the future. It's time to take control. You've been strung along for far too long here in a way that leaves you powerless to be able to make yourself happy. And I feel like that's actually very much the question here with the Sun, is that you're distanced or being kept from this experience of actually not only finding your power, but also feeling happy and fulfilled in this experience of being with this person. I don't feel that this person is going to keep up with a single promise that they're promising you at the moment. Yeah, I see here with the Empress and the Ace of Swords that as soon as they get what they want from another source and that they can see that they don't need you any longer, they will move on, and they will do that without any heart. They will not feel a single thing about that. This person is not there in a heart space with you. It's time to move on. Okay, so for my Patreon followers, if you would like to hold for a moment, I'll be with you in a second. For everybody else, if you want to go down below and hit subscribe, tap on the bell icon, that'll give you notifications for any future readings that I post. Please like and share this video where you can, and if you're interested in the services that I offer as a psychic tarot reader, you can go to www.tonyfoxtarot.com. There's plenty of information about who it is that I am, what it is that I do, and how it is you can access my service as a psychic tarot reader. Thanks very much and take care. Hi everyone, welcome to symbol number 2. This is your reading. We're looking at answers today. The answers that you actually feel within yourself deep down. I definitely get a no for this one. I'm going to start over here with Judgment and the Six of Wands looking to the past. I feel like you've been under an enormous amount of pressure to succeed, to make good in terms of what you're doing. I feel like this pressure is breathing down your neck in a way where it's constantly there. I don't feel like you've been able to get away from that. There's never a chance to sort of take a step back and relax and just kind of be where you're at to enjoy what's going on. I feel like the only way that is acceptable is up and to progress in a way that gives you a trajectory towards some kind of success. I do feel that you're working under pressure here in a way where you're actually very good in that set of circumstances. I feel like you perform really well when there's a lot of pressure on you. You seem to deliver what you say you're going to do, and I think you get a lot of acknowledgement from other people that you're doing a really good job at that. I feel like people are cheering you on. I feel recognition, acknowledgement for a job well done, for working under pressure, for performing in a really good way is something that brings a lot of attention to you, and that this is somehow kind of fueling you along to keep at it. But I do feel that you don't want to let yourself or anybody else down here. I just get a sense here that there is a degree of sacrifice in this pursuit to do really well, to succeed. I do feel here with judgment that you've been at a crossroads about what this means in terms of moving forwards. I think maybe you've questioned this in the past as to whether you want to kind of push on or whether you want to stop. I feel like you've balanced that up in a way that has said, I want to crack on with it. I want to keep on going. I don't feel like there's been any time for a break here in a way that has alleviated any of this pressure. And performance has been really like a really key focus here in a way where I feel that you've kind of fed into this idea of expectation and you know, it feels very high stakes and high pressured in terms of the environment. This could definitely be a workplace situation. I feel winning at all cost and being driven to perform is really key. And I feel like the acknowledgement that you're actually getting feeds into that in a way that kind of eggs you on. I think you really enjoy that aspect and that you do a really good job and that you do excel under pressure in a way that in some ways to you, I think it actually makes it really worthwhile. So I feel like this is actually largely positive. I feel like you've been doing an amazing job. And the people that actually see you doing that job have really been patting you on the back and kind of pushing you on to kind of do more. And it just feels like a very natural trajectory for you to actually follow this particular line of activity or work. If I come down here to the moon and the Nine of Swords, I do feel that underneath this, there is a very different experience for you. I feel in your downtime away from work that there's a lot of stress. Waking up in the middle of the night, maybe not being able to sleep, things playing out in your mind in a way that causes you anxiety, maybe even depression. I feel that in your day life outside of work, that you're not actually relaxing and unable to unwind in a way where you're enjoying what's in front of you. I don't feel that you are enjoying yourself in terms of your personal life here at this point in time. All of your downtime feels like it's managing mental health and stress and anxiety and worry about what's going on in and around your employment. I feel like in many ways this is like a downside to the success that you've actually been pursuing. You've reached great heights. You've done really amazing things in terms of achievement. You've progressed upwardly to reach new heights, but it's actually come at a cost here with a downside towards that success and accomplishment. I think there's a real worry here about what it means to fail. There's a sense that also that perhaps this is unsustainable in some way. And here with the moon, it's definitely an instinctual card that links into this gut feeling that this is not sustainable and maybe that this isn't what it is that I really want. I kind of feel like that links into your sense of knowing what the answer is here to this particular question. I do feel here though there's a lot of negative projection that is based on what am I going to do outside of being successful. How do I make change if I'm not to do what it is that I'm doing at work? I feel that you know that deep change needs to take place in some sort of way, shape, or form, but you're not understanding how that's supposed to happen. I feel like fear is really grabbing hold of you in a way that is debilitating you from being able to figure out what you really want in terms of your circumstances here. There's definitely a sense of trepidation, of anxiety, of depression, even, of maybe of not being able to face how long this can go on for. Is this really it? Is this all I'm going to be doing? Is just working really hard and kind of constantly meeting targets or pushing myself onwards in a way that doesn't give me the fulfillment that I'm looking for outside of that context of work? If we come over here to the Hermit and the Six of Pentacles, I feel here that this really underpins this trajectory of work. I feel that you're very pulled back into an experience that is based on the needs of other people, or of the need to maybe balance the books. I feel like you're a very kind-hearted person who works very hard to give other people what it is that they need. And that could mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. Perhaps that could be to do with your family. It could be to do with your children. It could be to do with your partner. It could be to do with your community. I just feel like you're working really hard here in a way that is about trying to give other people what it is that they need. But it also could be to do with money and security in terms of trying to get ahead and build a life where you have everything that you need for the future. I feel like there's an enormous amount of outgoing here in a way that flows into support for other people, or energy and finances that are going into the bank to kind of get yourself ahead in a way that deeply angers this set of circumstances for you. I almost feel like here with these two cards that you've become, I really feel like you've recognized this as well. And I think that that's a part of what I see here with the Moon and the Nine of Swords, is this idea of feeling almost like you've become a slave to the things that surround you in terms of your circumstances, that you need to service those things, and that this is never going to end, you know? I think that you place a great deal of importance on other people, though, and there's no doubt about that. I think that you're a very kind-hearted person. I think you take life very seriously here with Judgment. I think that you rise up and do the right thing for other people, maybe for the people that you work with, definitely the people that you know and love, and maybe even for your community. I kind of feel like this is very broad here with the Six of Pentacles and the Hermit. I think that you're very concerned about other people, your environment, the mechanisms that turn society and your experience of day-to-day life in your world. I think that you want to be a part of something that makes positive change or contributes in a way that really underpins those people or those circumstances or yourself in a way that is just very rock solid, very kind, very generous. And I feel like you're constantly putting things off as a consequence of that. Maybe you're saying to yourself, you know, if I just kind of wait this out, things will get better in time. And the Hermit is definitely a stretch of time, and I don't feel like that's a short amount of time for you. I feel like you're sort of saying, I need to keep on going. In time, you know, maybe things can change. But I feel like you've been doing this for a long time at the same time, you know, servicing your circumstances, giving to other people, holding space and time to provide stability is really a very core part of your existence, is what I feel. I think maybe you've been raised to, or been told that it's your job to fix things as well. I kind of feel like you're in there trying to do things that not only help people, but fix what's going on. You know, maybe you're involved or invested in other people in a way that listens to them and gives care. But I do feel that you're very practical in your support. I think that that's actually something that is really key in terms of your way of operating. You're showing the light, you're showing the way, you're giving out of kindness, and there's a deep sense of responsibility that needs to be upheld to show others how to be that person as well. But if I come down here to the High Priestess and the the Nine of Wands. I think, the flip side of that is that, you're just really struggling here in a way that says, how am I going to sustain all of this? It's not making sense. Here with the High Priestess, it's a card of the future. Looking into the future, I just feel exhausted. I feel like I want to take a break. I don't know when I can do that. I don't know how I can do that. I don't even know if I can do that. Can I take my foot off the accelerator? Can I slow down? And I don't feel that you have the answers here. I feel like if you're feeling exhausted and uncertain as to when this situation or circumstances are going to let up. And it's really forcing you to question whether this is really all worth it. I think this is kind of deep-seated, flying by the seat of your pants, confrontational stuff. Here with the Moon and the Nine of Swords into the High Priestess and into the Nine of Wands, I think you're very confronted about what it means to not be this person or to give yourself something that you need in order to be able to sustain it. I think that you feel here that you realize that you need to have a break, or that you need to kind of make space that gives you some sense of alleviating pressure. Otherwise, it all seems really pointless. And I think the balance of that is also sort of figuring out whether this is really worth it, whether this is really what it is that you want. If I'm not doing this, how do I shape my future? I feel like that's another aspect of what it is that I'm saying. It's become very day in and day out, and it's all about work. And I think it's just really tiring you out, and it's causing compounded anxiety and uncertainty, which is manifesting into some really difficult mental health stuff in terms of feeling depressed. I think you're a warrior. I think you give an enormous amount. You worry about other people. I think you take life seriously in a way where you want things to be done properly. I think that you've been either raised to or conditioned to think very carefully about cause and effect in a way that your actions can have consequences towards other people. I think you're a very mindful, maybe very spiritual person as well. But there are no boundaries here with the High Priestess to actually give you a realistic, sustainable underpinning to achieve what you're actually trying to do here. It's very one note. I think it's all work and certainly no play, right? I mean, what's the outcome here in terms of where this is all going? And I feel here with the Sun and the Ten of Swords, I feel like the totality of this experience is going to catch up with you and slap you across the face. Yeah. I feel like it's going to catch up with you, and there's definitely a state of collapse here with the Ten of Swords. I feel that you'll get to a point where you'll be so unhappy and so exhausted that you'll be unable to face it, but it maybe even energetically gets you in a way where there is just a state of collapse, of feeling, I just can't meet this anymore. I think the realization here with the Sun is that you're just not happy in doing this, and that all of your output is about sustaining other people and circumstances in a way that just doesn't make you happy. I don't think that it's all negative in terms of the outcome. I think that the outcome is one that needs to happen one way or the other, and I think that you'll meet this outcome based on what I'm about to tell you next. I think here with these two cards are new dawn rises. There is life beyond this experience in a way that, although this timeline on this particular trajectory may finish, a new one will begin. And I think it's about the realization that you actually need to look after yourself in health, both psychologically, spiritually, and physically. I think there is a downside here that says, here with the swords, there's an enormous amount of conflict of feeling betrayed by your circumstances, that, you thought that you were doing the right thing, that this should work, that you would get to where you need to be in terms of the success that you were trying to achieve. And the fact that this hasn't been sustainable feels bitter. A sense that maybe you should have done this differently, or that you should have stopped sooner, or that, it's just a kind of a, maybe even a more of a victimized outcome in terms of feeling, why me? But that's after the fact. It's not before the fact. And I feel like if you continue on the way you are, that's actually where it will land you in a way that leaves you to feel that you need to recover yourself from the situation. But at the same time, healing will begin after that point. And I feel that the future does look bright for you in terms of there being a light at the end of the tunnel. that you will pick yourself up, that you will dust yourself off, and that there is new growth and new life beyond this experience. I think the core of what I see here is that this is to be avoided. I feel that you are very much caught up in this trap of being all things to other people, to everything, in a way that is unrealistic. That there is an enormous amount of suffering that is going on beneath the face level of what you're actually achieving. It doesn't feel to me that the counterbalance of suffering makes this worth it in any way, shape, or form. And I feel that you're really struggling here in a way that says that I can't go on, but I don't know how to make this stop, and I don't know what to do in order to move it in a new direction. And I just want to say to that there is never going to be a right time. That the right time, really, if you want to look at it holistically speaking from this particular timeline, is now. Yeah. Because what you want to do is avoid an outcome where you actually fall flat on your face and feel exhausted to the point where it'll take you a long time to recover. And I do feel that the impact of this catching up with you will be one where it will take time, and that is to be avoided. So I would say stop now and alleviate the pressure and alleviate this idea of having to be all things to everybody else. You need to be all things to yourself first. You need to look after yourself now. You need to be happy and secure within yourself in a way that gives you what you need so that you can be things to other people. Yeah. For my Patreon followers, if you just want to hold for a moment, I'll be with you in a second. For everybody else, if you want to go down below and hit subscribe, tap on the bell icon. That'll give you notifications for any future readings that I post. Please like and share this video where you can. And if you're interested in the services that I offer as a psychic tarot reader, you can go to www.tonyfoxtarot.com. There's plenty of information about who it is that I am, what it is I do, and how it is you can access my service as a psychic tarot reader. Thanks very much and take care.